Good evening. Our show covers sensitive material, so viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to the H2G Podcast. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the H2G Podcast. I know I'm not in the studio. We're missing some other folks in the studio. We got Tony Ray back in the studio. Marvin Scott here as well. Once again, welcome to Season 7. We appreciate you for checking out our first episode. We hope that you enjoy the new format. Please go back and watch Episode 1, where we discuss in detail a very serious topic, and that's the Texas Heartbeat Bill. We want to know your thoughts and how you feel about abortion, pro-life, pro-choice. Let us know in the comments below that. Today, we're going to talk about social media and the effects it has on society. But first and foremost, I got to see how my brothers are doing. Tony Ray, welcome back, my friend. How are you, and what was the best part of your week?
Man, I'm doing justo. I'm hanging in there. The kids are sick, so they got me sick. So I was out last week, missed that. Got to see my little video that I tried to put some things together of how I felt, but I wasn't all there. But still, I go by what I said. It might have been all over the place, but I knew what I meant. So best part of the week is actually getting back here with everybody. Even though there's some people missing, being able to have this conversation and talk and be able to talk about things that are important and to see how other people see things, because it can open up your horizon. It can teach you something. So that's what I'm excited about. And wherever you're at, Justo, you keep cutting in and out. So what are you doing some research? Were you at a coffee place? What's going on here?
I'm cutting in and out here. The video is?
Just a little bit in the beginning, but you're doing good now. You weren't talking. It was mostly me doing the talking.
Right. I am at a restaurant / coffee place that hasn't given us a sponsorship. Gotcha. I totally 100%. I didn't know if you were at Buc-ee's or not. I didn't know. Oh, no. There's not a Buc-ee's close enough. So on the weekends for the month of October, I'm cast in a show called Moxley Manor. It's a haunted attraction here in Dallas, one of the scariest, and that's kind of why I'm a little raspy. I sound like I've been smoking a pack of cigarettes, but I'm still nicotine free, so you don't have to worry about that. But my call time comes up right after the record, so I decided to try and make Starbucks work. We're going to try it out this week, and then if this doesn't work, we'll be looking for other free Wi-Fi in the area. But I'm glad to be back as well. Marvin, how are you, my friend? What was the best part of your week?
Oh, man, the best part of my week is right now. Knowing that Tony is back, man, it's great to see you, brother. I'm glad you're feeling better. And hope the kids are feeling better, man. Hope the family's good. It's great to see you. Glad you're back. My best part of my week, like I said today, I really can't complain, guys. We're here, to talk about the negative effects of social media. And I'm just looking forward to, sending a positive message out, one that's informed, and, watching a lot of football lately. So as you can tell, I'm going to make sure I'm not distracted. You guys have my full attention. But it's been a great week, y'all. I'm excited to be here.
It looks like you're football ready, Marvin. with those guns out.
Guns
in this video.
Some guy ran into me today. Yeah. I'm trying to be like a Ohio State Buckeye. I'm trying to be like
okay.
Trying to pay for an All-American on the CW. Trying to prepare for it.
Tony Ray, he just took his shoulder pads off and left with the Giants, right?
Yeah, man, I got a Q next to my name, guys. I'm questionable. Just got a shoulder injury this past week. I'm kind of nursing, so it's been nothing but light workouts.
Well, we might have to get you in on the wire then and see if we can interview about that questionable status. All right, so we're going to talk social media. Disclaimer, folks, if you didn't check out our first season, we are taking it real this season. We want to talk about topics that we think that you might be passionate about. We know that we're passionate about topics that are important to now We greatly encourage you to get involved in our comment sections below. If you're listening to on our Spotify or our Apple Podcast or any of our audio platforms, there should be a review or comment section. If not, go to facebook.com and search H2G Podcast. You can let us know there. And if we get some really interesting responses, we will bring them back on the show and read them and share those responses as well. So before we dive into social media, we do have some sources to quote. We got some of our information today from APA.org, Brigham Young, World Health Organization, SimpleLearn.com, and then PEWresearch.org. So thank you folks for allowing us to use your websites and information. So we're talking about social media, both positive and negative effects. And I'll get it started. So to me, this is a topic that I have a lot of strong opinions on. So I'm going to try to abstain from being too loose cannon in the discussion today. Obviously, I do feel social media has its pros. I'm not going to focus on them, but like I will briefly mention, we exist a lot because of social media. We do a lot of our advertising and our sharing and our pushing to social media. So without those avenues, we would have to take a different approach, and I do see the value there. But I want to start by talking, like I did last week, talking about some numbers and then move on to a couple of case studies before I get into my personal views. So firstly, APA tells us that in 2005, a study revealed roughly 5% of adults in the United States were active on one or more forms of social media. Now, keep in mind that Facebook itself is only 17 years old, but a recent study done this year shows that adult usage of one or more social media platforms is up to 82% in the United States. So keep that in mind as we cross into the various points between the three of us today. The 82% of adults in the United States are using at least one form of social media. Now, there are a couple of big factors for me in this discussion. One is called social displacement. In layman's terms, this is referring to missing out on face-to-face interaction with friends or family as a result of utilizing social media. Now, I do believe that this happens, but I think that it's true for all technology. I think if we got rid of social media, people would still spend time away from family and friends to be involved with like video games or television or reading emails or whatever. So we did find a social displacement study when we were doing our prep. Me specifically, I was interested in Dr. Jeffrey Hall's. He's a doctor at the University of Kansas. And he took his subjects' access to social media away for a couple of weeks and asked them essentially to log their day-to-day activities for, I think it was a couple of weeks. What he found was they spent about the same amount of time away from their family. However, they were pretty active. They did all the cleaning chores. They were able to, check their emails. Like I said, clean their home, do extra work. But it didn't increase their face-to-face interaction with family at all. So what it tells me from an unobstructed view is that social media does, in fact, prohibit us from efficiency. And I know that's a broad statement, being that some folks are hyper efficient and can manage to be, addicted to their apps and still perform their daily functions at a high level. But just imagine, looking at this study, just imagine what an individual of that caliber's uninterrupted focus could achieve. So that's kind of my first problem with social media. I feel as though the majority of life is occurring online. Of course, the global pandemic didn't really help that any. But, still trying to have a singular conversation with one individual that doesn't involve something that happened in social media is very hard to do. And I encourage you to try it. Try, if you don't believe me, try not telling someone that you're trying to do this. Have a conversation with them and see how far that conversation gets before they prompt you to say something that was, targeted from social media, or they're talking about social media. To me, it's everywhere and it's kind of taken over everyone's life. I think people spend entirely too much time wrapped up in the different apps. They're equating life and thoughts and events to online relevancy. So like if we're out and, Marvin tells a funny joke and me and Tony are dying laughing, the likelihood of one of us saying, hey, can you tell that again for the gram, is pretty high. Not saying that we're that way, but that's how life looks to me. And, this is just from the outside. I'm guilty. We're all guilty of it. We're all up in the social medias, but you might be thinking that that's not me or my family or my friends. But if you walk into, this is kind of my point. If you were to walk in a room full of people right now, say there's people in your house while you're listening to the show, your family or your friends, go look around and see how many of them are doing this. Go into public, go to the grocery store. It's hilarious at the grocery store. It cracks me up. People will stop right in front of you just to check their text messages, check their Snapchat or their TikTok, making TikToks in the aisles. Not that it's all bad. I'm just saying 82% is a crazy high number to me. And it makes sense because everywhere I go, everyone is just sucked into this. And it's scary is what I'm getting to. And here's why. Not only is social media an avenue for people to have pretty much no boundaries when it comes to sharing their personal information, like their opinions, which may or may not be appropriately read or misread, your city, your state, what car you just bought. If you bought it, I've seen people post pictures. Oh, I just bought this new house, taking a selfie out in front of the new house with the address behind them. Take an old, what was the best term for my old job? I leased furniture and electronics to people, and I had to go repossess those things. Take it from me, your Facebook pictures do a lot of help for people like that. Because I specifically remember finding one gentleman because he was in the wind. He stole like a TV and a washer dryer from us. And he posted a picture of his new house with his wife and his kids and the address. And then guess what? Facebook tagged the town. So all we had to do is research the number in the town and we found it. Now, what if we weren't repossessors and we were, I don't know, a criminal looking to do some kind of heinous act? Super dangerous that people put all their personal information into that. At the same time, I have a lot of people in my life talking about right infringement and how they're worried about the government peering into their lives. Well, between your 7 to 10 apps on your phone, you've given them your address, you've given them your phone number, you've given them your bank information. That's probably hopefully just for like your bank, but probably Amazon, probably Google Pay, probably Apple Pay, all of these sponsored apps that trade information with each other to get more business. You've given them all that information. You've also made sure to spend a healthy amount of money on a device that looks like this. It's got a microphone and a camera that as of February 26, 2015, the Federal Communications Commission has complete access to, as long as it's connected to the internet. So I'm gonna open it up now because I've got more to say, but I don't want to hog the mic forever. I just, from a broadcaster's perspective, and the three of us can all attest to this. Back in the day, if we slipped, the FCC called, and that was on a college radio station. If you think they had that kind of grasp on a college radio station in 2011, what kind of grasp do you think that they have now in 2021? And you're worried about vaccines and microchips and mask mandates and all this shit. The government's controlling you already, and it has nothing to do with, flexing a muscle. It has everything to do with the almighty dollar. Tony Ray, I'm going to turn it over because I could talk on this all night.
I appreciate everything that you said, and I agree with a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. And being in, the industry that we're in and have the opportunity to provide information to people, we kind of need the media. We kind of need social media as well a little bit, so that way we can convey and have these kinds of conversations. Let's be honest, we're doing 100% of this podcast utilizing social media. Okay. So I 100% think that it's a tool that can be used for good. However, with all tools, it can be misused, right? So we're here to talk about social media, but I don't want to go down this far left road, but I'm gonna take a turn really quick, okay? A gun can be properly used and also misused. It's a tool, right? We're not here talking about that. We're talking about social media. I didn't tell Justo about this, so I apologize. So also for the references, there's a documentary that's on Netflix. It's called The Social Dilemma, okay? I don't know if anybody here has seen it. Have you seen it, gentlemen? You can just shake your head, yes or no, real quick. No? Okay. Social Dilemma. I highly recommend people watch this documentary. What this documentary does is what other documentaries do, right? So a documentary is going to be mostly one-sided, and that's the point that they're fixated on, that they're trying to prove. So I'm not trying to say that it's all 100% correct. I'm just telling you that you should go watch it. Keep your blinders open so that way you can soak in what they're talking about. This is what they're talking about. You've got people like Tristan Harris, who was a major part of Google. You've got Jeff Siebert, who basically was there for Twitter. These icons that started social media platforms get together to talk about what the concept was and why they did it, okay? What I want to talk to you about mostly is that social media is, to everything that Justo just talked about, it is corrupting the world that we live in, and it's because it's targeting you, okay? Social media is selling nothing, no products, no movies, no newspapers, no nothing. They're selling you. They're selling your attention time. They're selling, what will you click on? And if you click on something, heaven forbid you say it and you have an Alexa and you're talking about Clorox wipes, and then all of a sudden you're on Facebook and there's ads of Clorox wipes when you've never even searched Clorox wipes before in your Facebook. Dun, dun, dun. I'm just saying, it's crazy. Justo was talking about being worried about a chip inside of a bee, inside of a vaccine that's going to be in your arm. Whatever, dude. We're way past that point. Okay, we're way past that point. If they want to know something, they already know. Period. Exclamation. It is what it is. Okay. So the question is, what do we do? The only thing I didn't like about the documentary, and I'll tell you some key things that the documentary talked about, but the only thing I didn't like about the documentary is it didn't give you suggestions on way to fix it. Okay, they only talked about what it was doing. So these filters that's in Snapchat, there's 13-year-old girls that don't like the way they look. So they have to put these filters on. And now they're infatuated with this filter that makes them look a certain way because they're trying to get someone else's attention. Or it might not even be a guy, it might be another girl that actually is beautiful in the other person's mind because they don't know that they're really beautiful, because it's all about mindset, right? So they see this other person, they want to be like them, right? So people want to be Nicki Minaj. Best quote I ever heard somebody say, I don't know who said it, so please forgive me. People want to be like Nicki Minaj. Well, guess what? Nicki Minaj doesn't even know who Nicki Minaj is, right? Because she is trying to play a part in the world that we live in based off of what she can sell. So she's not even her true self, 100%. So you got these filters that are affecting young girls. You've got the aspect that people can't even put their phones down, like Justo was talking about. So I won't beat this for a long time, but they won't even put it down for a second to have a conversation. Are you kidding me? You ever go out to eat and you look around and there's a family of 5 and they're not even having a conversation. They're just looking at their phones. Put the damn phones down. Have that connectivity. Have that connection. Talk. Listen. All those things. We're not even doing it anymore. It's crazy. It's just out the door. Everything has to be easy access right now. Give it to me. Instant gratification. Oh, I can't go to the bank anymore. Why do I go to the bank? I have everything online. I can do everything online. But now I'm pissed because hackers can get my information. Well, what the fuck do you think was going to happen when you put your private information online? Come on. We have to be smarter. We have to think bigger. I don't have the answers. I really don't. But I will tell you, one of my favorite quotes is by Denzel Washington. Before I get into some of these numbers that I want to get to, Denzel Washington said this when he accepted his AFI award. He said, in this Twitter tweet mean world that we're created for our children, the least we can do is consider what part we've done and think about the young people, the future, and the individual collectively, so we can try and do the best we can. He blames no one. I look in the mirror, Denzel said. On the other side of it, what an opportunity we have, because tomorrow's the first day of the rest of our lives. So what an opportunity we have to make a difference, okay? So with that being said, this is the key points that I wanted to talk about. Anybody notice that there's a specific rate that just keeps going up with social media? Since 1999, according to the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, since 1999 to 2019, the suicide rate has risen 33%. 33%. Now, that could be based off of a lot of different factors. But I'm just saying, a lot of those factors to me point to social media. A lot of those, have you ever heard, back in the day you used to get bullied, right? Someone would say something to you and your mom would tell you, hey boo, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you, right? That's what we had to deal with when I was younger, okay? So for these cats today, it's called cyberbullying. And there's nothing worse to me than cyberbullying, because you can say how you feel and there's no repercussions from it. Think about your Facebook when 2020 happened. All these people came out of nowhere talking all this shit because no one was there to punch them in the mouth and tell them, say, what the hell are you talking about? They could say how they felt about Black Lives Matter and COVID and Trump and, transvestites and the gays or whatever. They can say whatever they want on social media because there's no repercussions from it. This is why I believe that suicide rate has gone up. It's because of the fact that people say what they want to say and not think about how it could affect someone else. Brigham Young did a study from 2009 to 2019, and what they did was they tracked boys and girls at 13 years of age, what they were doing, how they were doing it. Most of it revolved around social media, okay? Boys were not affected as highly as women were affected, or little girls, as you could say, 13, let's just say a young adult, okay? So the suicide rate is higher for 13-year-old girls when it comes to social media, but suicide rate for men have also risen since basically the WHO said since 1999. So you've got 10-year span. Well, what happened in that 10-year span? What do you think? For the fact women, because it was just men, not saying women don't commit suicide, but men were just, steadily increasing. Women were kind of staying flat. But as soon as 2009 came, they shot up. The ladies did. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, All this shit came out around that time. Listen, I appreciate everybody letting me, get my point of view across. I'm not trying to, make anybody upset. I'm just here to enlighten you, to dig a little deeper, to not be the problem and fix the problem. I first tracked my social media usage on my phone. Can you believe it? I was on my phone doing social media stuff on average 4 hours a day. 4 hours a day. That's 4 hours I could have been calling somebody, talking to somebody, sitting down, having tea with somebody, eating lunch with somebody, spending time with my kids, reading a book to my kids, something, working out, self-development, going for a walk, whatever. 4 hours a day. I now have it down to right about an hour and a half. Okay, because like Justo said, all social media is not bad, right? So you're gonna need it. I need it to stay in touch with these gentlemen and a gentleman and a lady that's not here, because I love them and I want to spend time with them. And the only means for me to see them is social media. So I'm thankful for social media, yes. But I'm also worried about where this world, country, whatever you want to say, insert there, is heading, because of the fact that social media is programmed to sell you. They don't care about you, and they just want you to be overwhelmed with a whole bunch of stuff and involved in stuff that really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The videos that we're watching, besides this one, we appreciate it, but I'm being honest. You're watching videos of a snake or an alligator because somebody put it on there. And guess what? The alligator and the snake never come, but they kept you on that video for this long period of time so that way they can make some money, because now ads are coming on the video. Wake up. Smell the coffee. Understand it's a lot bigger situation going on here. We appreciate it. Stay tuned. Watch this real quick commercial. When we come back, we'll have Marvin Scott give us his rundown. We appreciate it. You're watching and listening to the H2G Podcast.
I'm going in, it's first and 10. I'm a legend boy, a champion. They can't match the flows, the X's and O's. I'm breaking the code, devastation about to unfold. They calling me Derek by the way I roll. Bet you never ever seen a pro this cold. I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I mix with Iron Mike and the great Ali. I'ma run it back, believe me, baby. I fathered the game, call me Daddy Brady. I'm like that, try be like this. Sammy, so that boy don't miss. It's the return of the greatest. Any way you name it, I'm everybody's favorite. I'm bringing the pain and bringing the fire. Hey, stay tuned, it's going down to the wire.
All right, welcome back to the H2G Podcast, folks. We've heard two points of view on social media. We're about to hear Marvin, but real quick, we want to take this time to thank Anchor. And if you've been thinking about starting a podcast, Anchor.fm is the place to go. They've got all the tools right there. You can do all your editing. You can upload it. You can distribute it out to all the different audio platforms. Anchor.fm, we thank you for making H2G a possibility, and we hope you folks go check them out. Also, we hope that you take the time to subscribe, like, follow, whichever platform you're on. You know what you got to do. Hit the red button, the blue button, the green button, whatever color the button is. Doesn't matter. Just hit it for us. New to our Spotify listeners and our Apple Podcast listeners, we have a poll on there that comes with each episode. So last week we had a couple of different questions come up about the heartbeat bill and pro-life, pro-choice. This week we'll talk about social media. Please interact with us. We want to know what you're thinking, what your thoughts are. If there's anything that you'd like to see us talk about, hear us talk about in the future, please tell us. That's the only way we can find out, is if you communicate with us. Now I'm happy to turn it over to my brother Marvin to hear a little bit about how he feels regarding social media.
Well, I want to say I appreciate everything that you guys said, and I think that I appreciate your passion, both of your passion on the topic, because this is something that's for the past 20 years we can highlight just the introduction of social media. And I can just start with the evolution of it. I don't want to be all over the place here, but I want to kind of go down the line of my thoughts on this. But just 20 years ago, growing up in the 90s, and you guys can attest to this, and maybe you guys can out there, when you were outside and you were playing with your friends, or you were, playing a sport even, there was no social media. That didn't exist. There was no way anyone could be like, can you do that again? As Justin was saying earlier, like as kids, you were in the moment, you were going forward. Whatever happened that was good, whether it was triumph or it was tragic, like you always were in the moment and never had a camera or anything nearby where you could post it on. And I think that's something to highlight, something you guys said as well. I think that's where we are now, because it's the evolution to me is become more of a societal pandemic in terms of social media, if I can say it like that, because as time went on growing up and you go on to high school, there's the introduction of Facebook. And Facebook at the time, fellas and folks out there, that was the start. I felt that was the catalyst for everyone, using it initially as a tool, as you said earlier, Tony. You use it as a tool to connect. That was the point that Facebook tried to sell you on, as you stated earlier, is that these apps, these corporations tried to sell you on something. So Facebook tried to sell you on the idea that you could connect with others, and it worked. But I think that where it went wrong, in terms of the modern day bully that existed in the past decades, went to cyberbullying, as played earlier. Bullies moved to Facebook. So in translation, you had so many men and women use Facebook as a tool to keep up, not to connect. It was more so of competing with the person next to you and what they're doing in their lives. And that just, to me, highlights, the rabbit hole that everyone fell down, because after Facebook, it became Instagram, it became Snapchat, it became there's some others, there was MySpace at one point. But that's just to highlight the major ones that everyone frequents on a daily basis, and how it distorted reality for so many people. And you're thinking of a societal change, of social media being introduced to society. The privacy walls were broken then. Back then you could do something and no one really knew about it. An actor can go about his life, y'all, and he could have a bad movie or a flop, and if it's only really in the paper, it's not plastered all over social media, where you give these critics, cyber bullies, a chance to bash these actors' lives or these entertainers' lives just based off what they do. And I think that's just something to highlight what you said earlier, Justin, about the fear of missing out. I think the birth of social media has given people that idea that they're missing out on, the huge events in life, or a dream even. And social media is great about selling an individual on a dream. Basically the compare your life to someone else's. And as you said earlier, Tony, so passionately, being out with, your family or loved ones, I can't, count so many times where I've even seen my own nephews. I love y'all, but I gotta chop you up for a second. They do this all the time. They do this all the time when we're out. They can engage for a little bit here and there. We ask them questions, but they're always on their phone. And that's something that my mom brings up. They're like, why? Or their mom or my aunt, or whoever's at the family gathering, they're like, damn, they're always on their phone. And I'm like, they're young, man. I've been there. But when we were young, it was just the introduction of Facebook on some smartphones that really didn't allow you to have good access, really, unless you had a great phone. Like you were saying earlier, Justin, Apple came about. That's when you really started to see these social media apps really take off. And I think it's really important to highlight what you said earlier, Tony, about mental health. And I think that's something that I want to highlight as well and discuss with you all, is that social media has so many effects on mental health with depression and anxiety. Because, with social media, you have so much misinformation out there. People are always trying to find the answers. People are always trying to Google the answers. And really that leads them back to either Snapchat, Instagram, or Facebook. And really a lot of those answers that people are looking for are from people, but they're not connecting with these people face to face. They're doing it through an app. And I think that's important to highlight, not only where we were last year with the start of the pandemic, but where we've been for the last 20 years. How much interaction have we missed out on because of social media? Is there a balance, or have the numbers become so skewed where we're not really connecting face to face anymore? Now, I can speak as an actor, for these apps, and just not being able to audition really in person. All the auditions are self-taped. I don't have the luxury, because of the pandemic we're still in, to do auditions in person, or so you really have to capitalize on the auditions you do get, so you can work with actors in a production setting face to face. Now, I think that's something that we take for granted, because it's so easy to try to connect with someone through their DMs, or slide in that person's DMs. For you fellas out there, be brave. Like even Tony said, wake up, and connect with that person, because, tomorrow isn't promised. And you don't want to live your life through a phone, fellas. I mean, nobody wants to live your life through a phone. And I'm only speaking from experience. For you all out there that's listening, I've been guilty of being on my phone so much. My usage, Tony, like you said, 4 hours, boy. I mean, I'm scared to even look at my usage sometimes. But that's just to highlight where we are. It's just nostalgic, fellas, to think about where you were as a kid, to really think hard about that, because that's where it all starts. As I was saying, filters distort reality for so many kids out there, and that's a dangerous thing, because self-esteem, starts with the self. And the last thing you need is for, I'm talking to you parents out there, is for your child to think that a filter is the answer to their momentary problem, and thinking they don't look good enough, when that's not true at all. A selfie is not going to solve the issue. Endless selfies are not going to solve the issue. Filter after filter, post after post, story after story, moment to moment, everything that you post with your head being down is not going to solve the issue, especially not at that age, because it's just going to catapult. It's just going to catapult into something else that you don't want, And that's just my thoughts on the negativity of social media. I think that it's important to say that without it, I don't think that we would be having this show today, because that's how we connected. That's how we've stayed connected for years. We can appreciate it, but it's all about the mindset. And it's important to spread the message of balance out there in terms of social media and connected, because social media, you can do that, but also have a balance within your life of connecting with others and not competing with others, and living your life outside of a box, outside of a post. You'll be amazed to find out how much individuality that you have just by not clicking on the app, but just by leaving it alone for a 2-week period, just like Justin said that they did in that trial, just for a 2-week period. Just focus on you. Self-development, as Tony was saying, that's the most important thing. But that is just my thoughts on social media. I don't want you all out there to think that I'm bashing it. I just want you all out there to be responsible, report cyber bullies out there, just do your part and just make sure that you're connecting with others and don't use this so much as
Excellently put, my friend. And thank both of you. I think what we're going to do is we're going to, just like last week, we're going to open it back up. Folks, like I mentioned at the start of the second half here, please in the comments below on our poll question on Spotify, Apple Podcast, let us know what you think about social media. It's important to us. We're doing this for you. I mean, this is a discussion amongst us, but for you. So we'd love to know your thoughts and opinions. If you'd like to come on and say something, gotta let us know in the comments. Guys, before we get into the last word, I think we should kind of debrief, go back around. As I'm sure broadcasting, the beauty of it is we always remember the best things we want to say when someone else is talking after us, right? So I just want to always have this decompression time at the end of the show to go back through some things that I didn't necessarily miss, but I just think are important to highlight as you're thinking about the dangers of social media. One, professionally speaking, and another reason that social media is a good thing also, professionally speaking, your Facebook profile is going to be one of the first places that employers go to find you. Another, and I don't have a stat on this and I should have looked it up, but I found out recently when I entered the corporate world, is TikTok. You can find people by searching their full name on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok and you're shaking what your mama gave you, that could wind up in the eyes of a future employer. Just so you know, not that there's anything wrong with shaking what your mama gave you. Just need to understand that it was created, Facebook and certain social media avenues were created for professional exposure. And some, if not most, companies of a higher level are still utilizing it as such. So it's important to not have a whole bunch of, the guys had to get on me. Back in 2020, I was trying to be a warrior for the truth with all the dumb shit that was getting posted. And eventually, they kind of sat me down and said, hey, your Facebook profile looks like shit right now because it's all just you cussing at people and getting mad and upset and letting your emotions out there. And that's not what it's for. So if you go to my profile now, you're going to find a lot of pictures of what I do, pictures of me acting, videos and such, and podcast. It's a promotional aspect. If you're going to be personal on any of these apps, I'm gonna get a little serious here. I think you need to be aware of the fact that it's as simple as obtaining your IP address or your IMEI number of your cell phone for someone to screen record what's going on your phone. They don't have to hack your camera. They don't have to know some deep inside Snapchat hack or anything like that. Cell phone carriers do it all the time to help, with malfunctions. Best Buy's, what are they called? Geek Squad. They have to do it all the time for computers where they log into your computer remotely and access these things. That's the professional way of doing it. But if people can do it that way, what is going on in your head that you don't think other people can do that as well? So just to be clear, it is never safe to take a picture of yourself not wearing clothes and put it on the internet. I'm sure a lot of people have done that. I'm not going to say anything else in that regard. I'm just saying that when you do that, other people have access to it besides the people that you give access to it. Additionally, when you give access to that content, you've shared it amongst a number of networks and to another IMEI number that could be being recorded. So it's just important, and I'm being very broad because I don't know who's listening and I don't want anybody to feel offended or targeted, but I want you to be aware that it is not safe to involve yourself explicitly online unless that's the intent. More power to you if you're making a profit from it. You're understanding, just make sure that you're understanding the risk that you're taking when doing so, and that you're properly protected otherwise. It's never safe to tell people on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I get on my friend's girlfriend parents all the time about this. Don't tell them where you live, your kids' names, unless unless you feel protected in that. But like, you don't want them to know you're at such and such address in such and such town and such city. They don't need to know that. People don't need to know that. I just bought a new house in X city. I'm in Dallas. Come find me. I dare you. It's gonna be tough, and I feel protected, but I still don't give that information out. So that's the last little piece that I had was just, I want you to recognize that social media is important. It's a great way to connect, especially with the pandemic, especially with situations like mine where I've moved thousands of miles away from everyone I know. But you need to be safe with it. You need to be smart with it. You need to keep your personal shit, to be frank, out of social media the best you can.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. There's a lot of agreeing going on here, fellas. I don't know if I like this or not. You know what? I disagree with what you just said. I'm just joking. I agree.
We're bound to disagree at some point this season. We got enough.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It is what it is. But that's the beauty of this forum, right? So you get to be yourself. You get to speak your truth. And if you don't, understand someone else's truth or how they see it, you are enlightened about it. Right? So that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of social media as well. And also the threatening part of social media. I'm going to kick back on this because it's important. What you say and do, like Justin said, reflects what people will think about you. Now, whether that's important or not to you, that's up to you to decide. That's not for me to decide. However, I know that I want to hold myself to a higher standard for the people that are around me, and be the best person that I can be. That doesn't mean that I have to be a lame duck. It just means I need to be smart and professional about it. I could potentially offend or hurt somebody without even knowing it by what I post on any social media forum. And I have to be mindful of that. I'm not going to say that, because I'm going to probably get pushed back that, well, it's my own thought and it is what it is. That's cool. That's you, but that's not me, because I don't want to say something that could potentially offend somebody. And you know what? In this whole conversation that I've had, I could have done that, but unintentionally, not meaning to do it. That's the part of life, and that's the part of figuring things out. I only encourage you to have the self-discipline to tell me that you were offended, so that way I better understand maybe how I could have done it differently. And that's what I'm going to say about social media. Have self-discipline for yourself, so that way you are taking care and protecting yourself, because they don't care. You're just a number they're trying to sell. And here's the scariest part. Who regulates them? Themselves. Who regulates Facebook? Facebook. Who regulates Twitter? Twitter. What? Okay. Checks and balances, executive, judicial, legislative. You have all these different things for government. You have different rules and regulations for the place you work. You have rules and standards that you have for the house that you live in. And you regulate those things because that's your house. Your job regulates its job. The federal government regulates the government, the country. Who regulates social media? Listen, protect your kids, protect yourself, be mindful of what you say, be mindful of what you do. As a father, my eyes are completely open and different. If I was 20 years old, I probably would be like, man, this dude with the red hoodie and the hat don't know what the hell he's talking about. I'm taking selfies. I'm out clubbing. I got a girl with cleavage all showing. Hey, look what I got. Look at this over here. That's not what's important in my life for who I am right now, because what am I showing my children? What am I doing to my children? Also, another thing, last thing, and then I'm going to get off this soapbox. please. Children are tough. It is probably the hardest job that anybody can ever do. I commend every parent that's out there, okay? Please don't give your children a tablet just because you need a break, or you don't want to have a conversation. It's okay to do it in small spurts, but and it's all the time. I'm only saying that because I'm basically calling myself out. Shitty dad, handing a tablet, you go do you, I'll do me. That's selfish, bro. That was selfish. It took a second. I had to absorb it. I had to realize it, and I had to change my mentality. What you do is what you do, but I realized that was a weakness for me, and it was not healthy for my child, and it was not healthy for our relationship, and it was not healthy for me to do that as a parent. So you do you. I'm just throwing you some bones. If you want to keep them and catch them and use them, you do that. But until next time, it's always a pleasure. Marvin, I think you're going to wrap it up, bro.
Thank you, brother.
We still got last word, too. Last word.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I kind of put my last word all together. My bad. I was gone last week. I forgot how this happened.
I just didn't want
the last word.
I didn't want you to jump out. No, this is a decompression. We kind of anything that came up as the rest of us were talking. I know you were third in the rotation, but we did it last week, and I liked it a lot because I know as broadcasters, when we turn it over, we're like, dang. I wanted to talk about that. So I just wanted to make sure that we have plenty of time throughout each podcast to say everything that's on our heart with the new format. And a reminder, folks, we're coming into every episode completely blind as to what the rest of our castmates think and feel about these things. So it just so happens that we agreed this week, but one of these weeks.
What's coming? You know how we do. They know how we do out there. We don't always agree on everything, y'all. You know how I think a lot of stuff is rigged. So I'm going to think a lot of topics. We're going to be a level playing field, but we're going to come at each other some weeks. I'm ready for that.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to tack on to the social media discussion before we move on to last week?
Yeah, just a few things. You guys hit every nail on the head. And I think we all, for the most part, agree. I would say that, as I didn't say before, but you guys highlighted it. Think before you post. That's the biggest thing we can read. That's the biggest takeaway I think from this episode is really think before you post, because like Tony said, it's what you post, and Justin, you said it too, is reflective of who you are and kind of how you think too. And that goes because you don't know who you're affecting on the other end, who's seeing the message or seeing the image. Like, you don't know who you're affecting on the other side. And if you have this mindset where you are a rebel and you don't really care what anyone thinks, well, that can backfire as well. Like you said, Justin, earlier, when it comes to getting a job, because they do care. And those corporations, as Tony mentioned, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they don't give a damn about you. So if you lose your job or an opportunity, what does that mean to them? You're just another number and another stat and another data number, because it doesn't matter. You have satisfied their bottom line, all the while you missed out on connecting, all the while missing out on an opportunity. So everything that we've discussed on today's episode is just to help you. I've tried to, really slow it down in terms of experience, because that's the best teacher. All of us have had to use social media to know the benefits and the downsides of it. And I think that's where we are today. I think that if you all can find a balance, between, self-development and how much attention you devote to social media, you'll be fine. You just bring down the usage. We're looking forward to, having more discussions like this in terms of what you can do to, better your self-development, that's why we're here on this podcast. That's why we do this. This develops us, this stimulates us. So, if there's anything that you guys want to reach out to us about, whether it's trying to find a new hobby or anything else that's you're trying to steer away from your usage of social media. Obviously, you use your social media to connect with us. But if there's something that you took away from this episode, please let us know in the comments. Please reach out to us because we're here for you. And we just want you to, live responsibly. As Tony and Justin said earlier on in the episode, with a great tool as social media comes great responsibility for all you Spider-Man fans out there. So be easy. That is my last word. And we'll see y'all next week.
All right. So because we had a little bit of fluke there, he went right ahead and said, hey, this is my last word. You're going to just have to deal with it. But, I'm just going to basically, I don't need to reiterate anything. I think we all have a clear understanding. What I said before, technically, I'm 100% all about that. So my last word, I would just tell you, and I love self-discipline. And that's why I always say, I keep saying it over and over again. There are no regulators for social media except you. You are now the regulator for anything that can be done for you in your house, what you work with on your phone, on your laptop, what you give to your kids. So be mindful of that. Be smart. Live, laugh, love. I'm just messing with you. I'll catch you next time.
Hey, it's a good catchphrase. I don't blame you, man. It's a good catchphrase. It's been keeping me. We're missing Richie in his deal with the glasses. That would have been a good one for today. I think our wrap up definitely is kind of indicative of where our last words sit as well. But I did want to mention a couple things. Obviously, I'm going to do my plugs, but I'll wait just a second. Something else I'd like to ask, and I think we would all enjoy here at H2G, is if you have stories relating to any of these topics, tell us your story. You can find the comment section. You can find the message tab on Facebook. You can leave it in a review on one of the audio platforms, on comments on YouTube. If not, I'll put the email at the end of this. It's justthosebestlive@gmail.com. Send us your stories, and we'd be happy to share them on the air and kind of deliberate on your experiences, because this is about learning, right? This is not only for you to learn from us. We're not necessarily teachers. We teach each other, and it's because discussion is that avenue for new information. The only way you can learn is to talk about things. The only way you can heal is to talk about things. There's talking and discussing, and communication is so important. And that's why we do what we do, and we love you for tuning in. I read this week, I've been having trouble sleeping, and I read this week some ways to assist with that. And one of them was to unplug no less than an hour and a half before bed, meaning no more social media, no more technology, period. Turn your laptop off, close it, put the phone on the charger, turn the TV off. There's a bunch of things you can do in that time. You can just lay on your back and look at the ceiling and process your thoughts. You can go and spend a little time with your family without technology. If you want to look at some of our old episodes, you can find a billion examples of games you can play with your family to wind the brain down at the end of the day. But I challenge you to 1 week of unplugging 2 hours before bedtime. And just see what it does for your life. I'm going to try it. I encourage you guys, Marvin and Tony, to try it. And you folks out there listening, I encourage you to try it, unplugging, and just see what that does for your psyche, for your sleep. And maybe we'll look into unplugging more often. Who knows? Live, laugh, love like it's your last. Don't miss The Wire. It's on Wednesdays at 8. You can find us here at H2G Podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor.fm. We love them and thank them for all they've done for us. We'll see you next week.